Hello, everybody. Today is November 11th, and we're doing robot nonsense.
It's 11/11.
It is 11/11, and this is your reminder to go on and get your turkey before
did
the
you
rush.
see Walmart and one other grocery store? They're doing a special. They're rolling back Thanksgiving prices to 2019 to avoid the inflation. What a dystopian sales tactic.
Let's all just try to forget the last 3 years collectively.
But they're going to bring you in. They're going to sell you the turkey at 2019 prices, but the whipped cream is going to be, $5.
The cranberry
more.
sauce, yeah.
That's where they're going to get you. Well, this has nothing to do with space. And first, we're going to talk about space. And let's talk about SpaceX, because, oh boy, they have taken over the entire space game. Sure, there's some other players, but even those other players are having to bow down to Mr. Musk, the chief twit.
SpaceX is now building a Raptor engine a day, NASA says.
That's wild. They need a lot of them. I can't remember the exact number. It was like maybe 20 or 30 to get up there. The lander itself has 6, I think. And those 6 have to fire or they'll be trapped on the moon. The astronauts. That's terrifying.
What's the worst that can happen?
Especially
run out of air.
If I was one of those astronauts, I'd be like, hey guys, you think we could take maybe 2 days and do some, like checking on the second day?
Nah.
Maybe run through it twice?
Nah. It'll be fine.
I don't feel comfortable with that. And the Falcon Heavy, which is the bigger, badder of the rocket engines, has not been used for quite some time, but now it's back.
SpaceX launches first Falcon Heavy mission since 2019 from Florida.
Worked perfectly. They landed almost at the same time.
Wow.
Like a beautiful touchdown. And the main thruster did not land, but it was designed not to because they wanted that satellite to get really deep, so it burned all of its fuel to get up there. This was a SpaceX satellite, and exactly what it does is secret. Or not SpaceX, Space Force. I'm sorry.
Oh.
Probably something to do with fighting China's satellites.
Hey, that's a lead in for this story.
And China is also launching a bunch of rockets, and they have finished their big project.
China launches final module to complete Tiangong space station.
Tiangong? I'm not sure.
Their space station, the Chinese space station.
Ming-Chan experiment module. I say it's done. I don't think it's done yet. They have to put it in place and connect everything, but it's up there now.
Yeah.
It's ready for installation.
I liked watching the video of this one because you could see the Chinese people with their little flags, and I was like, oh, we really are the same. Everyone, crowds around a fence. And
it's easy, no matter how horrible your government is, and we both have horrible governments.
Yeah.
It's easy to get behind spaceflight because it's just an amazing thing that we're doing.
Yeah, it was funny just because the camera angles and everything were the same between both launches. So it's like the people with the American flags and people with the Chinese flags.
And, I look at it and I'm just I constantly have this thought. It's like there are people building that amazing machine and doing these things and figuring out all these problems and solving them. And then there's my community where everybody's just on meth.
Some of those people probably work for NASA. Not many people get out here, but
No, those are people on Adderall. It's different, totally different. Not the same drug at all. And Amazon has a specific problem to do with timing. You see, when you get FCC licenses, you have to use them in a very specific amount of time or they expire. So what do you do if your rockets aren't ready?
pressed for time, Amazon may turn to its SpaceX rival for satellite launches. Oof.
That had to hurt to admit, didn't it?
Yeah. I think it wasn't just SpaceX though. I think there were like 2 others that they were talking about working with.
Yeah, but he made, he being Senior Vice President Dave Limp, what an unpleasant name, says we're open to talking to SpaceX. You'd be crazy not to, given their track record. Yeah, they are really getting things done in space. Can't take that away from them. Whatever you feel about the chief twit, he's doing it. I just realized these are all from the same website.
Well, sometimes you know the paywall alternative giveth and taketh away.
Well, Gizmodo has just excellent space coverage. Let's give him a hand for that. But we have just recently figured out that we can move asteroids with our, just smash them with our space vehicles. And I feel
Our
like
space hammer.
hammers are great. I was just about to make the thing. Now we have a hammer and everything up there looks like a nail.
We gotta destroy it. Scientists find potentially hazardous asteroid hiding in the sun's glare.
Yeah, it's just one that we hadn't seen before. It's not coming straight at us.
It's not near us really at all right now, but maybe what if we should destroy it? Let's spend some money and destroy it.
Yeah, if it does come at us, we'll be ready to shoot it. That's the thing about it. It's like in South Park when they were hunting. It's like, it's coming straight for me.
The USA just looking to shoot stuff in space.
I like shooting stuff in space, but it's expensive to do that. We don't really have a lot of extra money right now.
There's a future story that we will do in this section of something that would be far more useful to shoot down.
And every rocket that we shoot at an asteroid that's not really coming at us is a bunch of rockets that we're not allowed to send to Ukraine. Which is really
I think those are the same rockets.
Yeah, but the money, it's the same industry building it. And we have to have black hole stories. We've learned so much about black holes based on your fear of them.
I feel like they've really been making a lot of strides in the last 2 years, especially.
Yeah. Well, they've developed faster travel.
They burp.
Teleportation, vomiting.
It's like the worst path of exile.
They consume more things than we thought. And now, temporal magic. They will be able to attack you not only through space, but also time.
Dead and alive at the same time, black holes have quantum properties. They are neither living nor dead. They will never stop hunting us.
And they have the whole particle wave thing going on, where observation of things near them can be in 2 quantum states at the same time. Some mind-bending stuff. And in terms of black holes, they bend even more than your mind. They'll bend all of your particles and rip them to shreds.
Every time I read a black hole article, maybe this is part of the fear too, is that they just seem so unknowable that it's like I read it and I'm just like, this is word soup to me. This is terrifying.
And now, the question is, if you did go into a black hole, you probably wouldn't survive it. But if you did, what's in there? And this makes what's in there more of a question than ever before.
I thought you meant this next article, you were going to segue, and I was like, what? A gingerbread house?
I don't know anything that, I guess, if we wanted beautiful pictures of black holes, creative pictures of black holes, this would be one way to do it.
Google's text-to-image AI model, Imagen?
Imagen is what
Imagen is getting its first very limited public outing. They don't allow anyone to actually use this. I think it's very limited, but they were showing what it can do.
They're going to add it to this AI test kitchen thing that they've got, which is why everything's food related here.
Yeah.
And it's really on rails. They're not going to let you go too crazy with, the obvious thing that everybody's going to go to, which is furry porn. They're going to lock you into...
Well, they're not all food. That one's a cyberpunk city, I think is what it was, or cyber city.
Well, they've got different apps in here.
Yeah.
So this is a city made of denim, I think.
That's one of the prompts. So you could do a city made of denim or a city made of s'mores, and then there's this one, which is a monster. Yeah, and you can give it terms that'll make a monster based on what terms you give it.
Design your cool thing. I don't think anybody's going to be too interested in this when they can already use all the other ones.
Yeah, this is too late.
But they're obviously trying to avoid people doing horrible things with it. But how can you? It's coming.
In the hellscape we live in, you can't.
And we have image creation. Last week we talked about, now we're up to music creation. Obviously, it's time for them to write for us. Now, we already had GTP3 and stuff like that. This one takes it even farther.
Google's new prototype AI tool does the writing for you. I was not that impressed. I thought it was pretty similar to the game we used to play.
Yeah.
Where it couldn't really keep track of threads very well.
And the authors, they invited some authors and they were like, hey, just feed it some stuff and see what's going on. You give it some prompts. It shows how it works here. They were impressed in terms of, if I have an idea, it spices it up in ways that I would not have thought of.
Yeah.
But in terms, like you say, of an ongoing narrative, not as good as that.
There's an example story in here about a penguin and a mama penguin protecting its babies, but the eggs hatch off screen. Their eggs, one scene, in the next sentence, it's she's saving her baby. And it's wait, what?
GPT-3 also suffered from that, if you remember. We would want to go down a certain path with it, and it was that person died, and then we're in someplace else.
Yeah, you had no idea why it changed abruptly.
So I've not revisited that. It might be fun to go back to that, see if they
Yeah.
improve it. But the business model they have is terrible.
Well,
AI
it's
Dungeon.
microtransactions. Yeah.
Do not buy it on Steam. Public service announcement. That is a ripoff. Now, this of course is in your wheelhouse. We've had this discussion before, and where do you land on AI generated art? Is it legitimate art?
I think it could be. It's too early for me to have a concrete opinion on it. Someone pointed out in this art, well, here, let me read the headline. Exhibit aims to present AI images as real art. Someone pointed out in this article that a lot of the hysteria around AI art is very similar to what we saw with like photography.
Makes sense.
And where people were freaked out because it's like, oh, well, now they can just reproduce exactly. But then photography kind of broke off and became its own thing. I think if you make a separate category for AI images, you know, like for contests or exhibits like this, I think that's fine.
But photography also changed maybe why we painted or drew.
Right. It became less about capturing reality.
But it did not stop us from doing either of those things.
Right.
So this probably won't either.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have any problem with the AI art stuff, although
I think it's from a business perspective, it's a little bit of a bummer because you spend years learning to draw and all these things. And then
that's a good question. Will future generations of artists not go for the same training because of this?
I would say so, because some people like with photography, they don't want to take drawing classes.
Makes sense.
But I would say at least with drawing, like that's where you learn the building blocks of composition. And those are relevant regardless of what medium you're working in.
Maybe not AI.
Because you're not actually composing it.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, though. That's the other thing that sort of is weird to me. Like, I feel like I, as an artist, if I start putting things into an AI image generator, I'm going to be frustrated because I can't change the composition.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, you could, but
That's how I've felt about every like no code, low code
web design
programming system. They're like, yeah, it's great, but ultimately I'm going to want to do something that it can't do, or my client is going to want to do something that it can't do. And then it's in the way.
Yes. And a lot of times those are paid. And then it's like, oh, we're paying for something that is ultimately irrelevant.
That happens a lot.
Yeah.
And when it comes to AI, we're getting rapid advancements, but mostly we're getting those advancements from the big names. Some small startups, but probably not as many as we would like. And OpenAI wants to change that.
OpenAI will give roughly 10 AI startups 1 million each and early access to its systems.
How do you get it? Well, you got to give them a plan. Got to write it up. Try to convince them that you need
proposal.
that money. Get on
Kind of
that.
interesting. Not a bad way to spend some money.
What if I took the text AI and had it write my proposal?
Oh, meta. But then they're like, this is just incomprehensible. Why would I hire you for this?
And at a time when robotics is one of the most lucrative careers that you can go into, and certainly infinite growth, I would think at this point, Lego making a weird decision.
Lego to discontinue Mindstorms robot line after a 24-year run. I didn't even know about this line. Does anyone play with these? Do they know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, you don't know about these?
I've never seen these.
So they had these special parts. They got a picture of them here. It came with this brick, the controller brick, and you could hook that into your PC, and then they had all these little motors and stuff to make your Legos do things.
So see, the one I remember was Kinects. Kinects had a lot of robotic stuff. You could hook into your Kinects and then make your stuff move.
Kinects, was that Lego branded though?
I don't think Kinects. I think that was a separate brand. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know my blocks real well.
And then you had Lego Technic, which was they weren't blocks. They assembled differently. But I think they also had a robotic portion. Anyway, apparently there's a new kind of robot. I can't remember what it's called. And it's taking over.
Oh, okay.
It's not Lego, but it's going to be an official replacement in all the learning systems that used to use this stuff.
I should get something like this for one of my friend's kids. He really loves that kind of thing.
I'm wondering, because with Lego appreciation is so crazy, should I just go and buy a bunch of that? Right?
Oh, and resell them?
Because
Yeah.
there is a new set that's coming out only this year, and then they're all done. Will those be huge collector's items?
Probably. I think that's true of almost any Lego.
Yeah, it's a weird market, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
This is what this is what NASA should be shooting down.
this is great. Well, this is not actually in space.
Yeah.
We could actually do this with, just the Air Force could do this. We don't need NASA for that.
500 drones will form a giant Candy Crush ad above New York City tonight.
This was yesterday for
yeah.
us. I did not see an update on this. Did you?
I didn't see this anywhere. It's almost like people don't want to see ads in the sky.
It's amazingly the 10-year anniversary of Candy Crush.
Who cares?
It's been a decade.
Not me.
Mark Zuckerberg cares.
Don't ruin my view of the night sky with your bullshit.
So New York City already doesn't really have much of a night sky because it never sleeps and there's lots of lights. But yeah, now it'll be just even worse.
They were concerned about there's some sort of migratory bird that passes through this region. And apparently, like, the city lights don't bother them too much, but they were worried this would be too much for them.
Well, not just that, but they could run into a rotor, right?
Yeah.
That would be a disaster. 1 pixel of the Candy Crush might fall out of the sky.
Oh,
with a
no.
bird corpse.
Mangled in it.
Also, it's interesting that New York itself has rules against drone flights. So they actually are launching them from New Jersey and then putting them over the Hudson.
I feel like if someone did that here, they would be shot out of the sky.
Maybe. But also there's no one here to advertise to compared to New York City. So how many people do you think will install Candy Crush because of that?
I hope it's -10. I would uninstall it.
It's going to be a non-trivial amount, I bet. And they're going to be measuring it in real time because
of course they
Facebook controls everything.
Yeah.
Amazing. And moving on to nonsense, this one was a shocking story, and it just goes to show you why we have some bureaucracy. Like, really, there's a reason there's a coroner, and there's a reason that only the coroner can make these decisions.
Denver firefighter suspended for getting woman pronounced dead even though she was alive. I'm still alive.
So she had a surgery, and I guess it had gone wrong, and someone had called to do a wellness check. And they said that there was an overwhelming stench of death. And she was on the couch with fluids leaking out of her. And they were like, yep, she's dead. And they called it in. Not dead. She started moving after that.
I assume maybe she was just like on pain pills or something after the surgery and probably...
Oh, well, she was near death.
Oh, really?
Oh, she was...
Was she septic then?
Terribly infected. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So she had to go directly to the hospital, but they were looking to pop her in a bag. Remember that video of who was the celebrity that got in a car wreck and she was horribly burned? And
I remember that story, but I don't remember.
They had a video of her fighting out of the body bag.
Oh.
And we never got a follow-up on that. I guess
They just put her back in there.
I guess it could be shock from the burns.
Oh.
But that was a terrifying video. Another thing that's terrifying is I feel like I'm uniquely susceptible to this because my truck is a little bit jacked up. So it's easy to get under. And I leave it parked for long amounts of time. Probably shouldn't be saying that here, right?
Yeah.
But this is a big problem, and it was such a big problem that this guy had become sort of like a little kingpin.
They get stolen from around here all the time.
His empire, yeah.
A nationwide catalytic converter theft ring made hundreds of millions of dollars, feds say.
This guy had a special piece of bling made that looks like a catalytic converter.
It's the platinum in them, right? That's why people take them.
Right, yeah. They have a high value, high resale value. Probably the most expensive item on the vehicle that you can easily get to from the outside. But yeah, they had just bins and bins of these things. It was a nationwide ring, and this guy was running most of it.
Wow.
They have a free service here in California. They will engrave your license plate onto your converter. And so the stolen ones are harder to... But if you're scrapping them for the platinum, who cares?
Yeah. I guess if you know someone who will take it.
But that's good. And it does seem like they got to the top of this ring rather than just getting the low-level guys. Although the low-level people operating outside the ring are just as much of a threat.
Yeah.
Because, just meth heads. Plus, they'll sell those catalytic converters for nothing. I'm a big fan of the SCP stuff.
The library.
And this was one of the most popular ones. This is a really good one. And I'm surprised it took Ikea this long, obviously.
This game just got announced, I think. Ikea sues indie game developer over survival horror game set in furniture store. This game is in development right now. You can go to its Steam page because my husband actually sent it to me earlier this week and was like, oh, we should check this out when it comes out. And then we had a story about it.
Looks cool. Do you know the SCP about this one?
Where you can't get out of the Ikea because the employees are like faceless monsters.
But there are like pockets of human habitation in there.
Oh, okay.
And, the they've built up a little society inside of it, and sometimes the employees will tear one down, and you got to move to another one. It's a great story, but yeah,
The game looked like it would be interesting. I was kind of looking forward to it.
You think that this hurts the IKEA brand? It seems like it might create awareness.
What's weird is that they don't use it in the name of the game or in like anywhere in the game. It just is blue and yellow.
In the SCP, they do use it. The big thing that IKEA latched onto here, apparently there's a teddy bear in the game that has the name of the teddy bear that IKEA actually sells.
Oh, okay.
And apparently, the lines on the floor in IKEA that show you where things are.
They're trying to copyright that?
They feel like that is unique to the IKEA and they own that.
Almost every video game has had lines on the floor to indicate where you're supposed to go,
but
too.
Not in a furniture store.
Oh, so that's different. I hope that they get to release it because that game looks really cool.
It's such a great piece of fiction, too.
Yeah.
That's a great thing. I don't know. The developer said he's going to strip all that stuff out, but I think it hurts the overall feel of the game, right? And for no reason.
I mean, he could change the sign colors and get rid of the bear and probably be in the clear, right?
Gotta get rid of the thing on the floor.
I don't know if you can defend that.
If you're
I mean, they've got the money to, but like
an indie game developer.
Can you really say like arrows on the floor are copyright to IKEA? Like I've seen that every store during the pandemic did that.
Sure. Well, maybe IKEA should sue all the
stores. Yeah. How dare you, TJ Maxx, for putting arrows on the floor?
And here we have just a disgusting. It's amazing how much the airlines are allowed to punish us. And I just saw people are trying to do a class action seat because they keep making the seats smaller.
Yeah. There's one where they're like trying to get people to stand up.
And there's
like a roller coaster ride.
There's one where like you are basically under the person in front of you. Like you're stacked up. Just like, yeah, it's disgusting. But not quite as disgusting as this.
Queenslander with disability left to crawl off plane after Jetstar staff refused to let her use a transfer wheelchair without a charge. I understand that the policy says that, but if you are the stewardess, whatever, who is making that decision in the moment and you see her start to crawl, how do you not have a moment of human decency where you're like, screw this, I'm getting her a wheelchair?
I don't know. And she pointed out they got her onto the plane in a wheelchair.
With no charge.
So
yeah,
aren't you kind of like putting her in a situation that she can't get out of?
I do kind of love the balls of being like, no, fine, I'll crawl out and you will watch me do this.
That is the way to do it. Yeah, because I mean, you got to bring, if she had just paid, no one would have ever cared about this.
Right.
She would have just been out some money. But that is just a ridiculous, the fact that they have that policy is absurd.
Yeah, again, if you're the person being asked to execute the policy, why would you not be like, no, screw this, get her a wheelchair?
The official thing, the response was, no, that's not what we did. The wheelchair was in use somewhere else, but according to her, it was there. Like she could see it.
And they were just like, no, you can't have it.
Yeah, they said you have to pay to use it. Pay-per-use wheelchair. That is that's dystopian. And van life, you've abandoned your dreams of van life.
Yeah, I don't think that would ever be realistic for me and my husband to do.
That's sad.
I love my husband, but being in that tiny of a space.
What if you did 2 vans? That's going to be fuel costs that you don't.
Yeah,
realize.
then I think at that point we just get a bus, something bigger.
So it's not living in a vehicle; it's just the size. I don't think he would agree with you.
No, he wouldn't. Yeah. But my sister-in-law is actually looking to build out a bus right now. They're working on it.
Well, if you are not like Krista and you still hold the dream of van life in your heart, Ford has a new offer for you.
Want to live in a van down by the river? Ford has a new vehicle for that. It is pretty cool. It is also very expensive.
The Transit Trail Van.
It looks really nice on there's some photos later in this article, I think. It's
kind of just a panel van, but they have made the inside especially adaptable to your own updates.
One of these had like pictures where you could see the bed and stuff. Maybe it wasn't this article. I clicked through on a different one.
What was the price? I don't remember.
It was like,
$65,000.
Yeah. Whew.
It's expensive for a van.
Yeah, you could build out your own for.
Does it come with any van life appliances or anything for that?
It's got, so again, there's photos in one of these other articles that are linked in here, but there's photos like it's got a little kitchen and a I assume the sink, it's probably a gray water system where you can pump it out. It could just go straight out. Some people do that, but
That seems nasty.
yeah. Well, it's gray water. It's not black water. Still not great. Unless you're using a environmentally friendly soap.
I don't do that. Well, were you familiar before today with the professional cornhole scene?
You would think that the way that friends and family around here play cornhole, that they were playing in a professional league, but no, I didn't know there was a real one.
It is interesting. Sometimes when you're driving along these country roads, you'll see a bunch of cornhole
Yeah.
things out front, and it's like for sale cornhole. What do you call them?
I don't know. We got a pair. My cousin made me a pair for our wedding. We've used them a few times.
Really? How are
My
you good
neighbors
at it?
next door play cornhole all the time.
Are you good at cornhole?
No, not even a little.
Maybe if you had some special bags.
BagGate cheating scandal rocks professional cornhole world. I'm surprised they don't make you use regulation cornhole bags.
They do. So apparently there's supposed to be a default material and the number of beads.
Oh,
But they say these are resin beads. They say if you boil your cornhole bags, it can change the structure of the resin beads after the fact.
to make them like heavier maybe,
I
or
don't
like
know.
maybe they melt together.
What do you I don't feel like lighter or heavier bags, they're not heavy in the first place. Right? I mean they're
I'm thinking if the resin beads melt together, it might give it, more sticky clumping, and it would feel like it could go a little bit further.
but that would be immediately obvious to everybody, right?
Yeah.
I think the boiling just changes their shape or their weight or something.
Yeah.
Any cornhole players out there who understand exactly what's going on here?
We need to go boil some cornhole. I have some. Oh, we'll boil one later.
Anyway, $15,000 prize, which is why people are arguing so vociferously about this. And it turns out after the
Wow, look at that. There's sports sponsorships for that.
Yeah, yeah.
Mike's Hard Lemonade sponsors professional cornhole.
That's wild. But so after the fact, they were like, okay, we're going to do a teardown. Everybody turn in your bags. It turned out both teams had non-standard bags.
Wow. They should just go back, instead of resin, just go back to actual corn bags.
Or, just let the venue provide the bags.
I assume they did, but maybe they took them home. They snuck them out.
It's so great because it's a tiny microcosm of when the football team deflated the footballs.
Oh,
Remember
yeah.
that?
Man, people.
There was a little more at stake in that situation, though.
There probably was a cash prize. Maybe not as high of one, but
Yeah, 15 grand versus hundreds of millions.
yeah.
Well, this just keeps coming up. Like this story, we've talked about it. What would you say, 4 or 5 times?
Yeah, I feel like this is just bait. Every time it's just bait.
This one had a little bit more behind it though, because apparently Joe Rogan made a comment about this one, and a lot more people caught on to it because of that.
Fact check. Do SLO County schools have litter boxes for students identifying as furries?
No,
Every time it's a headline with a question mark, the answer is almost always no.
turns out that's not true.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan, I think, has admitted that he was wrong about that. So. And when it comes to, it's weird now because our professional athletes, almost all of them at this point, grew up playing video games about the sport that they're in. And some wild things happen because of what they learned.
NASCAR driver stuns racing world with a move learned from Nintendo GameCube.
Did you watch the clip?
No, I'm thinking of there was a thing you could do in Mario Kart where you could like hop over the wall and go back and forth.
No.
I assume he didn't do that.
So the trick is you don't drive at all. Like you don't hit your brakes. Instead of hitting the brakes, you let the wall drive you.
Ah.
So look how fast that is compared to the other cars. That's brilliant.
His sponsors who paid for that vehicle are like screaming. They're like, stop! But he's winning.
I think they changed the outside of those vehicles every time anyway. Anyway, he needed to get a certain number of places to get into the championship, and he did. It worked.
Oh, it's hilarious.
So reckless, though. I mean,
Yeah, you could flip that very easily. And that's not as fun in real life as it is in a video game.
they also talk about if there was anything sticking out of that wall, like if they had drilled something into it and he caught it at that speed, letting the wall drive him, that would have been catastrophic. I only included this one because, well, a number of questions. Why? And also, look how bad these costumes are. That Spider-Man doesn't have a neck.
No Spider-Man costume I've seen, like from a Halloween, they always look saggy. Like
I don't know why that
the
is.
helmet. Superheroes catching drug dealers in Peru.
So they were doing a regular drug bust, cocaine. They found 3,250 packages of cocaine. I'm imagining that's a 1 gram package. And wait, 302,050 packages of cocaine paste. Oh, cocaine paste. What is cocaine paste?
You put it in your pasta. You're making a pasta sauce. Instead of tomato paste, you use cocaine paste.
It's not the most delicious spaghetti, but you'll eat all of it. But yeah, they decided to be superheroes and just bad superhero costumes.
It's probably from Halloween Express. A lot of that stuff's not great quality.
Also, if I'm getting in a gunfight, how much visibility am I giving up with that dumb mask?
Maybe you just don't think about that. Maybe you're just like, no, I want to be a superhero.
That's got to be a wild trip, though, especially if you're, high on cocaine at the time when Captain America.
Oh shit, Spider-Man's here. Oh no.
And over in London, did you watch this video?
I did. I saw a clip of this, but I didn't know the context of
This
it.
is just, I don't know exactly where these things came from. The article doesn't tell us, but just this video, I got to mute this. Let me mute this side as well.
Okay.
It's fantastic.
Giant runaway Christmas baubles tumble through London street, wreaking havoc. What's crazy is when they hit like a light pole and like all of the silver just comes off.
So I guess those are just big inflatable
Yeah.
plastic balls. It got some air there too, so it doesn't weigh anything.
Yeah, I assume they said it was part of a Christmas display, I guess. I saw this clip on there's a subreddit called Bizarre Life, which is just weird things like this. So there was no context when I saw it.
What do you think those cost?
A giant inflatable ball, but it's used for a Christmas thing, probably for a department store.
And all that mylar on the outside of it?
Yeah.
That's going to be pricey.
I can't get over, though, when it hits the light pole and all the mylar just...
I imagine you got to pop them to take them back, right?
Yeah.
You're not getting them back inflated.
Someone's chasing it with a knife, and there's a policeman chasing the person with the knife, yelling, "You got a license for that."
Oh, that's right. They're not allowed to have knives. Apparently, Heidi Klum
love this.
famous for her weird Halloween costumes, and they are pretty impressive. This one is just astonishingly
It's incredible.
terrifying.
Heidi Klum, unrecognizable in elaborate giant worm costume at her Halloween New York City Halloween bash.
This is
So I wish is there a zoom on her face here?
I don't think so, but here we go. Yeah,
There it is. Dennis Villen, I don't know how to pronounce his name. The guy who did the Dune movies, he is frantically trying to contact her makeup artist because he's like, I need something like that for Dune
the
Part 2.
human worm
Yeah.
crossover people. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is something special. What do you think that cost?
Oh, it's probably absurd. So her husband was a fisherman. And he's just like got a fishing hat and stuff on. And and she's just a giant worm.
He's a fisherman, but he's the bloody fisherman.
Well, look at what he's fishing with. What kind of fish is he looking to get?
Big ones.
What a great story.
Actually, I think the kind of fish he was fishing for, and so was she, were retweets.
Yeah. Well, she does, like I said, every costume she does is insane. It's crazy because she's a supermodel and like very successful, I think. And she's, instead of going with the hot, sexy, like barely a costume, she's like,
Yeah,
no.
well, I mean, she's not a supermodel anymore.
Well, she works on, what's the name? Project Runway.
But she's past her beauty days, and she's just being creative with it. I think that's a good thing to do. That's a graceful aging.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of girls, especially in the modeling industry, aren't capable of that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like a lot of models, and a lot of people in general just will go for like something that looks sexy or like low effort. And no, she sat in a makeup chair for probably 10 hours before that party to look like a worm.
What do you think the temperature was inside that worm suit?
Not inconsequential.
She was disgusting when she crawled out of that at the end of the night.
Literally slithered out of that. And then she still had the worm makeup on her face. So she had to take that off for probably half an hour.
When you marry Heidi Klum, you don't expect that to eventually be your life with her.
No, the best part of that is her husband agreed. She was like, "Hey, I need you to be a fisherman." And he's like, "Oh, are you going to be a fish?"
Yeah.
No.
I mean, she's also insanely rich, right?
Yeah,
so he's probably just like, whatever you want.
Between the modeling and then the Project Runway royalties, I'm sure she's loaded.
Yeah. So Halloween, you do whatever you want. That's
yeah.
Fine. Yeah. Just keep paying my credit card bills. Think this is too hot?
No, we did a story about someone who was blind who did this a long time ago.
Yeah, but you're adding the other spice that's not allowed.
Norwegian man now identifies as a disabled woman, uses wheelchair almost all the time. We did a story many years ago about someone who did the same thing where she wanted to be blind and had a doctor blind her.
Right. She put some sort of horrible chemical in her
Yeah.
eyes. Now, there have been a lot of criticisms here, not based on the woman part, but based on people who are like, I actually have to use a wheelchair. And you know what? It sucks. And what you're doing is angering to me because you're flaunting a thing that I wish I had.
If there's a fire in the shopping mall, I have to try and wheel myself out and you can jump up.
You think this guy would have walked off the plane? It's going to be $25 charge. Oh, I'll walk. Yeah. But also, you know, it's like, well, I think they might have been getting some sort of assistance from the government for disability or trying to. And it's like, really?
Yeah. I would think, I don't know how it is in Norway, but I would think you would have to have that confirmed by a doctor. Here, it's actually really difficult to get disability. You have to go through multiple hearings, I think.
It should be.
Yeah.
Because people will cheat, obviously. And people do successfully cheat a lot. This, I didn't actually ever see the video, did you?
No, I kept seeing this headline pop up all week, but I didn't see it. Like, I didn't even see a photo. I assume it's probably pretty gory.
This video, yeah, we won't show it. I don't think this is the video.
That's just a stock image of a...
Yeah, it's just...
Oh,
look,
wait. Yeah.
It's not really, that's really, really clickbaity.
Video. Dog runs through Mexican town with human head found at an ATM. The story was all over the place, but yeah, I didn't actually see the real.
So it was one of those, you know, like the ATMs that have a little building that you go into rather than just being on the street. And it was a drug cartel.
Ugh.
They were making a statement. They left a note. It's not a mystery. Head and hands. Terrifying stuff down there. And the Dutch wolves are apparently such good boys and they want to be with humans so bad. It's something that has to be stopped.
Paintballs to be shot at Dutch wolves in bid to make them less tame. This is a real Harry and the Hendersons sort of moment.
They pointed out that not everybody should shoot paintballs at wolves. Can you imagine only having a paintball and going up against the wolf?
Yeah.
I would not have that. What if you hit it in the eye and it gets angry?
I would think it would run away, but
what if it doesn't?
yeah, if it does, yeah. Better hope you're next to your cabin. Also, there are wolves. Well, I mean,
Wolves
like
do
there
exist,
in Europe.
yes. Oh yeah, wolves are everywhere, right?
I thought maybe I'm mistaken. I could have sworn that a lot of like larger wild species in Europe were not prevalent anymore.
Well, this is probably some obscure mountainous place.
Yeah,
Where
it's Netherlands, but
and sometimes they'll just bring them in, you know.
yeah, that's true. There's some wolf rehabilitation happening around here.
I bet that's wild if you're a North American wolf and they grab you and drop you over there in Norway somewhere and you're just like, wow, all the animals here are a little bit different. The bulls here taste different.
Everyone here's a little bit tamer. Like there's a lot more cities here.
And did you watch this video? This is the
No, I didn't. So a lot of times
video.
with nonsense, I try to avoid reading them because I like to be shocked and surprised when I see the headline.
This video is so good.
First ever study shows bumblebees play.
So what does that mean? Well, as you can see here, they gave them this little setup and the bumblebees could either bypass the room with the colored balls or they could go out of their way to go to the room with colored balls on the way to food. And then they controlled that in a various number of ways, but this is what they do in the room with the balls.
Do you think they think that's like pollen? Like a flower or something?
They were very careful to make sure that these bees weren't hungry and that they weren't trying to get food in any way.
Okay.
So they did this
weren't working,
just because they were into it.
That's the best. If that's not another reason we should have a White House pollinator garden. They might actually, you know what I was thinking about? We might actually have one. I'm ignorant. I don't know that. I think we just have the rose garden, right? And then like the food garden.
This is a better video.
Oh,
He's having so much fun.
those are like the fat bumblebees too, and those are so fun to watch. They got the big fuzzy butts.
They also, afterwards, they had the same setup. And they took the balls out, but they had colored the two rooms, right?
Yeah.
And the bees overwhelmingly went toward the room that was colored the way they remember the ballroom was.
Oh.
So they're like, yeah, we want more of the balls. Even if they're not there, we're looking for them because it's just so much fun.
Oh, man. I got to get more wildflower seeds. I was looking at wildflower seeds the other day and was like, man, I don't know if it's worth it. And now I'm like, well, clearly it is. If I can watch stuff like that.
Do you think the bees, I feel bad for these bees. What if they never get another chance to encounter fun ball
Plastic.
time?
Well, I'm sure that, well, the way things are going, maybe not. But like wildflowers and stuff kind of provide that. IRL.
They'll release these bees into the wild and they'll get into like a McDonald's play place with a ball pit or something and just cause havoc.
They don't have ball pits anymore. McDonald's are just sad.
Everything good about the world is gone. Actually, I don't know if that was a good at all. That was kind of a petri dish of horribleness.
Yeah, it was, but it was fun.
I never played in one. I was too old by the time they came around. I think.
They had the ball pit and slide, and then ours briefly got N64s. There were like N64 stations with Mario.
That's also disgusting.
Yeah, everyone touching those controllers. Yeah.
All right, well, we'll see you next week. Wendell will be back. He'll be able to tell us stories about his trip. Thank you, Techie Sava, for the nuts. We'll try some of those.
I already did. They're delicious. All right, we'll see you guys then. Bye.